Hey everyone, and welcome to the show I don't have a name for yet. My name is Ethan, and alongside me is Hanna Vaughn.
It's me.
How are you doing?
I'm so good. Thank you for having me.
No, thanks for doing this with me. I'm pretty excited.
Me too.
So, if you could, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your background.
My background? Okay, so I was reading in the comments that someone was saying, I hope this doesn't go over my head. Don't worry. I am a college dropout, but I did study a lot of psychology before doing that. I studied human sexuality and things like that. So that's kind of why I found this an interesting topic. What else? I work with children, so I'm really excited to have some adult stimulating conversation. That's about it.
Well, that's a pretty cool background. So tonight we'll be talking about mental health and intimacy. And if you would like to share your feedback, the number is at the bottom of the screen, 951-364-2430. So, Hanna, when you hear intimacy, what do you think of?
There's a part of me that kind of cringes.
Really?
Well, yeah, I mean, it took me a long time to get less cringe feely about that, I suppose. I mean, it's wonderful now when I think about it, but closeness and vulnerability with someone in so many different levels, because there's so many different types of intimacy, emotional, romantic, physical, sexual. So yeah.
Dude, I have trouble with intimacy. It wasn't actually until my later years that I became comfortable with cuddling with someone. Before that, it was like a brick wall. Like, nope, I don't cuddle. Like, I have this weird barrier up because of my trust issues with people.
Mm-hmm.
So while that barrier's come down a lot, like now I'd say I'm kind of a cuddle whore, like totally like love cuddling, and it has done so much for my mental health, particularly like after leaving a decade-long relationship where you're living with your partner. You do feel quite lonely at first. So I remember the first time I cuddled after my marriage, I was like, the next day I was like, oh, I feel so much better. It was like this, it was weird. It was such like this chemical reaction in my brain. Like I was excited. I felt better. I felt a little more confident. So it's not just sex that plays a role in your mental health. It is like that type of intimacy too.
That's so true. I mean, we're social creatures. That's so great. Cuddle therapy.
Yes.
Some of us. Mm-hmm.
I'm probably going to start a cuddle therapy group.
Yeah. I think there's escorts that just do cuddle buddies. So,
I need to find one of those.
Yeah. Apply.
So if I'm being transparent, I made a post on Facebook, said, look, I'm just going to be blunt. I'm not looking for a relationship, not looking for sex. I am looking for someone to smoke, cuddle, and watch movies with. And that's it. And I will say, it's nice to see that other people like reached out and was like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Like, I find that if you're completely honest about what you're looking for, you get results.
Yeah. No. Oh, no, gosh. Being honest about your intentions in the first place is a huge deal. I don't know. So many people have a hard time with that. Maybe it's because they don't know what they want or they feel like guilty about it.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't know what I want. I know I'm not ready to jump into a relationship, though, that's for sure. So I always, like, whenever I go out with someone, I kind of make sure they're aware where I'm at because I don't want to mislead anybody.
Even just being open about that, like, hey, I don't know what I'm looking for. I don't know what this is going to turn into. That's super important to be straight up about too. I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of. A lot of us don't know what we want, and that's okay. You can find out. Just be honest about your intentions.
Right. And I will say, from a male perspective, at times women don't always believe you because most guys, I shouldn't say most guys. I'll just say there are a lot of men who that's all they're looking for, and they'll lie about it. Where I really, like, I'm cool if I don't get it right now. I'm good. I don't need any type of attachments at this point in my life because I'm trying to figure out my direction and where I'm going.
Man, I remember those days. I'm in a very, very like lovely relationship now, and gosh, it took me so long to like figure out like, oh, that's how you healthy.
What is a healthy relationship? Well, that's a topic for another show.
I know. Okay, next time. What is a healthy relationship? But yeah.
Yeah, I would. Although I will say I did have one, even though it didn't work out. Like in
Oh,
many
that's good.
ways. Yeah, like dude, we're still friends. She still watches my content, so I'm pretty lucky.
Good. Yeah, you could still be civil even if it didn't work out.
I know. I wish more people had that mentality. Like I know in every scenario you can't be civil. Obviously, there are
Yeah, some people
situations
don't
where someone
deserve
just no. Some people are just assholes, and you have to get away from them. But I do think in many scenarios you could find common ground and still be friends.
it. Yeah, I think everyone's just trying to do their best. I try to remind myself that all the time.
How much do you think trust impacts intimacy?
Entirely. I mean, because you can, like, back to what intimacy means. I think there's a certain level of vulnerability that comes into it. But I mean, it also just depends on the kind of intimacy you're looking for. I mean, you can have total, like, arrangements where you're like, hey, I want to meet up with you and never see you again. And that's completely fine. I think that's a form of intimacy and it's totally valid. But also, you got to trust that person's not going to like kill you or something.
Oh, that would be nice.
But if we're going, thinking more about like intimacy, really like trusting a person and being vulnerable with them and close with them in any kind of way, I mean, yeah, you got to trust that person. And that can be terrifying because the trust can be totally misplaced sometimes.
It can. And it's weird because I'll be open about so many things publicly where I'm not like afraid to talk about my personal life. But then like the stuff that's close to me, I am on complete lockdown. Like
Wow.
I've unfortunately adopted a policy where, and I think I started this at a young age where I have different friends that I talk to about different things and
Yeah.
in many ways only know a portion of me because I feel that if I give too much away to any one person, they have the ability to destroy you.
Oh, gosh.
No, I know. That's where my which is
No, but, like,
weird.
I understand that, though. Like, it's a terrible feeling to, like, have your guard up like that, but, like, you're protecting yourself. I mean, you should if you feel
Right.
like you need to.
And it's weird because I'm incredibly optimistic in every area of my life, and I still always hope that people will do or make the best decision, but yet I still don't trust people.
Oh my
And
god,
it's
that's so
yeah,
conflicting. But I
it
yeah.
is. It goes on in my head all the time, but I'm fortunate enough that I never let it go to, like, a negative place. Like, I never think, "Oh, the world's evil, people are bad." Like, I'm always like, "Nope." At the end of the day, people will do good in most cases, especially if you show them the way.
People are just trying their best.
Yes, they are.
I
Trying their
think, I hope.
best.
No, but oh gosh, no, I was gonna say, back to, never mind. Anyway.
Okay.
I did that thing that you do. Where
I
am I?
have
What is this?
That's the problem. My brain goes everywhere, man. Like
Oh, I remembered it. So it's really hard not to get bitter when you have that mentality of like you really give yourself to people and you hope for the best and you may not get that back and you might get worse back. You might be treated terribly. But staying optimistic is so important because like you can become incredibly bitter and become someone who hurts people.
yes, and I've seen that in people not necessarily close to me, but around me where they're jaded from life, and I'll hear them make comments like, "Well, you don't know what it is, or you don't know what it feels like to be screwed over." And it's like, dude, let's go through my record. I have a pretty interesting past, but I do choose, or I guess that's a good question. Do I choose to be optimistic, or am I optimistic by default? I don't know.
I'm going to ask myself that question at some point when I'm ready.
I'd be curious to know, but I will say I would rather hope for the best and be let down than, just plan for the worst all the time.
Yeah, I mean, some people think that if you kind of expect the worst, you're never disappointed, but like, I don't know. I think I have answered the question. I don't feel like I have a choice other than to be optimistic. It's just like the way I am, I think, despite everything I've been through. And like, I don't like to compare scars or gatekeep about pain, but I think I've been through a lot. And I think I'm pretty fortunate to just not be jaded by it. There was a point where I was, I think, for sure. Like getting close to people was very, very difficult. I had no interest in it.
Yep, a big barrier. You keep it up to
It's a wall. A wall. And it was definitely bitterness, absolute bitterness. And it's just nasty. It's no way to live. But I get it when people are that way.
Yeah, life can throw you a lot of hardballs, but sometimes you got to power through them when you can.
You have to. What other choice do you have,
So let's talk more about emotional versus sexual versus physical. So for me, when I think of like physical intimacy versus sexual intimacy, I think of cuddling, where you're not moving it to the next level. You're staying right there. And emotional, in many ways, I think of like a long distance relationship or long distance friendship where you never actually meet or talk to each other, but you are like invested in each other. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I was in a long distance relationship before we now live together. That lasted for a year and a couple months. And that kind of intimacy can feel so intense because like you can't, I don't know, you can't touch each other, sometimes when you run out of the emotional and intellectual stimulation with someone that you're attracted to, you're like, all right, want to do it, and that's normal, but like, yeah, you get to know each other on like that's super intimate. I mean, you share everything and you talk all the time. I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, my as I was saying to you before we went live, my trust issues run deep to the and it's weird because for one, I'm not like a jealous dude. When I was with my ex, she had male friends she'd go out and drink with. I don't really care about that stuff. But where I have this barrier up is my personal life and not trusting people to either keep my secrets or it's weird though, but I've always it started at a young age where I found myself taking a step back from people and closing, like my relationships didn't last long. I would constantly close the door because I didn't want to let someone get too close to me. So yeah,
God.
everything, my emotional intimacy, my physical and my sexual, because I always had this barrier up. And my cat is scratching the door, even though he's in the room.
Let me out. Do you need to?
No, hopefully he'll stop.
It's not that loud on my end, so I don't know.
Good. He usually like parks right next to me while I stream, but apparently he doesn't like this conversation. So maybe he
intimacy. I can relate, cat. I've been there. But no, I can relate to that in a way where, here now. Okay, so being, you trusting people with yourself and trusting that they're gonna take care of you and like, can I give myself to you without, once I give it away, I can't get it back. What are you gonna do with it?
Best name ever. I'm muting my mic whenever Band-Aid starts scratching at the door because you can hear it. So I'm
Band-Aid.
Yeah. Band-Aid's such a little shit, but I love him to death. Although I would argue that he has intimacy issues as well.
Don't get me started on cats and their kind of intimacy, because I have been such a dog person my whole life, and now I have a cat who's very affectionate, and I don't know what to do with it.
I wish my cat was affectionate. Mine's an asshole.
We
Here,
can trade. It's fine. No, we can't have Simba. It's okay.
I didn't name him Band-Aid because he scratched and bit, but that's what he ended up living up to the name. Like, he used to beat the shit out of my ex. She's got so many scars. And when we separated and I moved out, I'm like, he started becoming like a normal cat. And like, I'm like, wow, he's not attacking anymore. This is great. The first time I had a woman over that I was interested in, do you know what he did? He attacked her. Anyone else, he doesn't attack. No other women. But if he apparently senses I'm into them, he attacks them.
That's the worst wingman ever.
He is. And now my entire life, he's never slept with me. Now, all of a sudden, the one time a girl sleeps in the bed with me, he now sleeps in that spot every day.
Wow. Wow. He has trust issues, I think.
And he doesn't want me to have anybody else.
So I have a question. So you had or have trust issues? Did that end at some point? You know, you said it started from a young age. Has it gotten better? Does it wax and wane?
It's gotten better in some ways, in the sense that I guess as I've become more liberal and less conservative, I'm like, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to spit out my feelings unapologetically. And not sit here and worry that someone's like 10 years ago, I would have never made a post saying I would cuddle ever. That's something weak men do. Like that's how bad it was in here. So drop something. So
man,
I would say being more liberal has made me more open, and I feel like people are more accepting.
Liberal guys, you'll get
liberal because they want you to be open about your feelings. Where conservatives are like,
be man. Do not talk about feelings.
No, it's a weakness. I mean, just the other day.
Because my personal preference of a partner is someone who's like very open about their emotions. But I guess there are some people where that's just, it doesn't work that way for them. They don't want that. So
no, it sucks because you're taught that at a young age. You're told it's a weakness over and over again. So in your head, when you expose yourself, you just instantly feel like, ugh, like cringe, like vulnerable.
Fellas, gay to feel.
Right. And that still happens to me sometimes. Like I'll go back and look at a time I opened up on Facebook, and then I'll be like, why did I do that? And then I have to remind myself, it's okay. Everybody has feelings. Other people feel like this.
Yeah. That's so interesting that it like runs so deep that you'll still like have these moments of like, don't share.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the more authentic and vulnerable you are with people, like you're going to track that back.
No, becoming an atheist and liberal, honestly, like one of the best things that happened to me. And when people
congratulations, I'm so happy.
Me too, because I was such a jackass before. Seriously, dude. Like, I'll give you an example. I was one of those people that would say, I'm not asking pronouns. That's ridiculous. Why should I? If I see you as a boy, you're a boy. That's the
we would have never been friends.
I know. And I look back and I'm so ashamed of how I was. It's like, what's wrong? I just want to go back and kick my own ass and be like, dude, what's wrong with you?
But learning and growing and getting better is wonderful, and I encourage that.
It is.
No matter who you are.
I will say, I think political or conservative indoctrination can run just as deep as religious indoctrination. Because at least for me, I was able to turn off my Christianity at the drop of a hat, but I was not able to turn off the Republican side at the drop of a hat. That was like, it took quite some time to think my way out of it, because even hearing liberals talk annoyed me if I knew they were a liberal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't have wanted to be friends with me either.
Oh, I wouldn't have been friends with anyone in this great community. And it sucks because it's a great community.
I have been secular pretty much my whole life. I mean, my mom, I think she considers herself agnostic.
Okay.
I mean, she doesn't really think about it. It's just never really been a thing. And she's been like, I suppose I'm an atheist, you know. So I've never had that like barrier. And I've also like grew up with very like Italian influence, like lovey-dovey stuff. So it's just, and I'm also a woman and I get that like that privilege of being able to be very affectionate, all like it's expected, you know? So I never had this barrier like that.
I'm jealous.
Well,
I, it's like, yeah, it's less barriers in your brain. You're a free thinker. And I guess to address you, ex-Cole, baby, yeah, like that post
women,
I made like about 6 years ago where I'm like looking for hot women for cocktails. It's like, dude, come on, man. Like, really?
Like, I get where you were coming from because like the industry, but come on, hot with 2 T's.
I know.
What
man.
are you?
I have no justification or excuse for being a douche. Except like that's what I was taught. So
but you're learning and you're growing and we're so happy to have you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm so happy you agreed to do this show with me.
Thanks for having me.
Oh,
but it sounds like I was leaving. No.
No.
Bye. No. Okay, so I have been dying to ask you this question because like learning and growing and trust issues and barriers coming and going. Do you think you can love someone if you don't love yourself?
Absolutely. Because perfect example. I loved and still love my ex-wife, not in the sense where I want to be with her, but when I was at my lowest point and I didn't love myself, I still loved her more than anything. I would have done anything for her, and I did. Anytime she needed something, it was bam, drop, do it. Because I always wanted her, no matter how like upset or miserable or low I felt, I wanted to make her happy still. So yes, I firmly believe you could loathe yourself and still love somebody else because I was at that point.
Darn it. Because when I asked you that question, you gave me the bite size version. I thought that we disagreed, and turns out that I totally agree with you. And I thought, darn it.
We totally disagreed too.
Well, because people always say you can't love someone if you don't love yourself. And I'm like, that's not true because I am been so depressed at so many points in my life and have still loved so honestly, you know, like it doesn't matter. Like you can absolutely hate yourself. But the difference is, I was thinking about this, is that if you don't love yourself, you're not going to attract the right kind of, it's not going to be the right kind of love, I think.
That's a good point. Yeah,
I mean,
if you could attract people who don't necessarily like you for who you are.
Yeah, or just it's going to be this like negative feedback loop of another person that doesn't love themselves and it's just destructive, or they kind of prey on you because of the way you are. I don't know. I'm sure there are exceptions of 2 people who hate each other who just are doing great.
I'm sure that would suck.
I think when I think back on my life and there's like this definitive, anyone can love someone else, there's no prerequisites. Yeah, I agree. But before I loved myself, like there was that point in time for a long time where I did love a lot of people and it was still genuine. But the love that I have now for myself and my current partner, like because I learned to love myself and learned what I wanted and what was healthy for me, and wow, it's a big difference. Huge.
How did you get to a point of loving yourself? Because damn it, Band-Aid, stop, dude. Won't stop scratching.
I'll get to a point of loving myself. The short answer is Lexapro. The long answer is lots of work. No, I mean, like I have depression and anxiety, and getting help was a huge deal. I mean, I didn't understand myself. I couldn't communicate with my partners. I was confusing them, confusing myself, finding love in all the wrong places. Like all the cliches. And when I realized like, oh, I have all these undiagnosed problems and trauma that I have not dealt with, you know, I'm 26 now. I didn't start my like mental health journey until I was 22, I think. So it's still fairly new, but like the difference, oh, it's a huge difference. I mean, realizing what, like, okay, there's a problem. This is what the problem is. This is why you do the things you do. And this is why you're freaking all your partners out and freaking yourself out. And this is why you don't know what you want. And like, and learning how to communicate those things. Oh my gosh. I still am working on that. Like I said, even learning that there was a name for the things that were going on with me didn't happen until kind of recently, a couple years. So I'm still learning, but night and day already.
That is good. And while like I am constantly, I should say I'm trying to work on myself and get me to a point where I feel the same about myself, because I have this habit of just looking at the things I've done and being ashamed of them. And like, example, when someone says I'm a good person, it's like in my ear, I'm just like, just stop. Like, I don't want to hear that. Exactly. Like, because I'm just like, you don't know the things I've done. You don't know my past. You're judging me off who you see I am, who I am now, which is great. I'm trying to be a good person, but that, in my opinion, doesn't make you a good person.
I don't like that. Everyone has a past. I mean, I'm not here to like fix you like that. I wish I could, but you know, like, man, I've done some terrible things too, haven't we all? But I mean, I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure there's exceptions to everything, but forgiving yourself is a huge deal.
It is. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, and no one can just tell you to do it.
So moving back to intimacy,
Mm-hmm.
how would you recommend people deal with a lack of intimacy?
Oh, so that's a lot because I've dealt with that before and it was a direct result of medication I was taking. I mean, when you say intimacy, like that was a lack of libido, honestly, and making me therefore like I also am not the best cuddler. My poor boyfriend. Anyway, so you know, there was a point in time where I was just like, I am not interested. And also when you're depressed, you're like, I am not interested in connecting. So that's so hard. I mean, it's a lack of intimacy, and you know, I want to be careful because I'm not a professional, but it's like, is this serious enough to where I need to see a psychiatrist or a therapist? Because I mean, we're social creatures. Not everyone wants it, but you know, intimacy can play a really huge role in our lives if that's something that we're hardwired to crave, you know? So I don't really know how to answer that question, I guess.
It can, but it goes into, I think everybody, or sorry, not everybody, most people need some form of intimacy in their life. And that's why, for example, I am for the legalization or decriminalization and legalization of sex work, because who are we to tell people who, like, for example, I think of a husband who lost his wife, who doesn't want to start over, but just wants to be with someone once in a while to feel good. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Say it louder for people in the back.
Right. Like, who are you to tell someone who's lonely that they shouldn't be able to pay for some type of intimacy? I've contemplated it at times because I have such a busy life, and not even the sex part, just the hanging out part. I have such a busy life that I don't have a lot of time to form new relationships with people.
That makes sense. I mean, I read somewhere that, I don't know, it was, I'm going to paraphrase this terribly and I'm sorry, but there was a number of prostitutes, or there's some kind of stereotype out there that a lot of men want you to stick around and cuddle. And like, that makes sense. We're social creatures that crave intimacy. And going back to the man who lost his wife and like wants to be intimate with someone, I like you said, how do you deal with someone who like is lacking intimacy? I think that man should be in therapy. But also if he wants to get a prostitute, I don't see a problem with that. It's just, is this becoming an addiction? Is this, because he doesn't want to face his feelings, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a professional. I can't go into that. But
Of course not.
But if you want a specific type of intimacy and it's healthy and safe, like why shouldn't you be able to pay for a service that provides that?
Yes.
Why not? Someone tell me.
Like people just need to get out of others' business for the most part.
Yeah,
which is weird,
man. And if it's decriminalized, it's a lot safer, and that's a lot of people's concern, apparently. But
yes, and look at the benefits in society. Abuse against women goes down, and from my understanding, STDs go down as well because now they're in an environment where they can protect themselves. And additionally, violence against women because now they can report the abuses they sustain and they're not scared to go to police officers.
Yeah. They're not going to fear that they're going to get in trouble for reporting a terrible thing that happened to them. Oh my God, I get emotional when I think about this stuff.
It's odd how backwards our country is at times. And then when you try to point that out, people think you're trying to take their freedoms away or you have no morals. And it's like, no, man, we're just trying to actually have real freedoms here.
Yeah, you should be able to pay a woman to have sex with you or a man or
person.
Yeah, exactly. But I know it's like, I always think prostitution, women. But anyway, I don't see why not. Other than, obvious Christian arguments, but I don't believe in that, so you cannot say that to me.
Well, that doesn't work. The other day at my call.
Sorry.
No, please.
Oh, I said you have no power here.
No.
Go ahead.
The other day on my call-in show, we had a little bit of a frustration when IQ was my co-host, and we had a precept say we have no morals. And I got to tell you, that gets so frustrating hearing that from people who treat others like shit. And they're going to tell me I have no morals? Like, that's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, that's like so. I could really like crack that one open and dive deep into it because it's ridiculous. As someone who grew up completely secular for my whole life, except for this like one time where I was like, maybe I want to try church.
How long did that last?
I was in high school, and I honestly I think I blacked out for that whole time. Like, I think it was like a year or two, and and I hate telling people that because then they're like, well, then you didn't try hard enough, and I'm like, I guess, but come at me, I guess.
Come at me, bro.
Pardon?
I said, come at me, bro.
Oh yeah, I know exactly. But it's like, where did I get my morals from then? I don't know. My mom, I guess. Mom is God, I guess.
You had mentioned you wanted to talk about libido and how it can impact intimacy.
Yeah, seriously. So funny. I've gone from, there's this correlation between trauma and hypersexuality at times, and I have experienced that. And it's so funny. That's not terrible. It's not funny, but it's funny that now, and also being older and processing it, and you're not a horny teenager anymore. But I've gone through points in my life where I'm like, am I asexual? Like, I don't know. And turns out, well, yeah, but turns out it was my medication, and I had no idea that was one of the side effects. I mean, that was poor research on my part because everyone's like, yeah, like antidepressants, like kill your libido sometimes. And then, you just give it a little while and your brain kind of mellows out and it's back. Sometimes, I mean, that worked for me. It just kind of gave it some time. But oh God, what was the question? I'm sorry. I did that thing.
It's okay.
Okay. Yeah. Mental health and libido. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I started to think about my life and go down a rabbit hole. It was weird.
Libido.
Sorry, intimacy and libido. Yes. Okay. I mean, yeah, and how mental health can affect that. I mean, have you gone through trauma? Are you on medication? Are you having a lot of stress in your life? And here's a huge deal. I mean, so there's so much shame in men who can't keep it up when it's totally normal. Like, why aren't more people talking about this? Because, I mean, from my experience, it happens to like everyone, and every guy is so freaked out by it. They're like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And I'm like, it happens to literally every guy. Like, if your brain goes somewhere else for even a moment, it can happen, and
Yep.
it's super normal. But
And
I don't think people talk about this enough.
No, I think because in a lot of ways society shames it, and your manhood is judged by your longevity and size.
Mhm.
It just goes into that whole masculinity bullshit that we just need to throw in the
Yeah,
garbage.
men are just expected to just want it all the time and to be able to perform all the time, and that's just not realistic. We can't do that.
No, and even here's the other thing. Here's situations I've run into where if I've ever let's just say I turned down sex with new partners, immediately I've had people question my sexuality. Like you're a guy, you're supposed to want it. I'm like,
You should want to have sex with everything
all
all
right,
the
like
time.
right, like I don't want to just sleep around with everybody. That's not me. And not that there's anything wrong with it. That's just not who I am now.
Right.
And it's weird because it's almost like they try and make it that there's something wrong with you for not wanting to have sex or for turning it down. And I
So
find
wrong.
yeah, it's like, dude, nothing wrong with me. I will control myself in this area for now. And I feel like the older I've got, the more I'm there's a term for it when you're more attracted to the intelligence, or you only get aroused by intelligence.
Sapiosexual.
Yes, it's weird because when I was younger, I was like, I don't really give a shit if you're attractive, and now it's like, if you're attractive and we can't have a good conversation, it's not happening. I have no interest whatsoever. Band-Aid, stop it.
It's so funny what can happen when your hormones calm down.
Yes.
You're like, oh, I need to be able to talk to you. Crap.
Going
I
off
require more intimacy now.
yes, conversation, engagement, back and forth, disagreements.
Being challenged.
Yes.
That's a good one.
I cannot date someone who gives me fluff.
No. I mean, some people are into that, and that's okay, but that's not me.
Of course. For me, like, I actually made a post probably like a month and a half ago about white lies and how they impact a relationship. And a surprisingly number of people said they're okay with white lies in a relationship. I'm not.
Like,
and that's no, like
you look great.
I can't do it. Like if a partner asks how her outfit looks, I'm not mean about it, but I can't lie. I'm sorry. I don't want to do that because to me, it always starts with those like, small lies. And I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong for viewing it the way I do, because for me, it drives me up a wall. Like one thing I could count on my ex for was, even if it hurt my feelings, she would be honest. Your haircut sucks. I don't like your pants. You're acting like a jackass right now. Like, that's what I need. I don't want to be told all the good things I do. I need like someone
You need it to be real. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Real. And that goes into where my trust issues are. The second I hear a white lie or I hear someone telling me what I want to hear, I'm like, nope, don't need this. Don't want this. I need the hard truth.
Yeah. No, it's a good quality to have. You need Band-Aids permit for dating.
I don't know if he'll ever give me a permit for dating.
No nookie for you.
Become very needy to the fact that even the other day I'm in the kitchen and the dog goes to come up to me and Band-Aid goes right in between the dog and me. And I'm like, seriously? And the dog goes to walk around and Band-Aid right around and just staring at the dog like they're not. I'm like,
Better
come
not
on, dude.
back up.
Right. Like, you can't keep everything away from me, bro.
My partner, if we start a smooching, my dog will want to like get in between and be like, no, 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 or start barking sometimes. She gets jealous. I don't,
Oh.
she just like, those smooches are for me. Excuse you. Intimacy and how your pets affect them.
Yes.
Next week.
That's actually a really good episode. But I did want to shed some light when you had talked about libido and intimacy, because I have some interesting personal experience in this area.
Okay.
When I was, so at one point, I was on over like 10 prescription medications a day, multiple seizure meds, antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds, ADHD meds. I was getting injections in my stomach. Like, it was just so much. And I had no sex drive at all. Like, I would be like, yeah, okay, maybe, but it was just non-existent. Now, when I started coming off all that medication, it was at the same time as I was going through my separation. My libido skyrocketed. It was
Oh no.
yes, I was like 12 years old again, where I'm just like, everything looks attractive. Like, the wall looks attractive. Like, yeah, like, what? And I was like, what is happening to me? And I was still at that point, married and separated. So I'm like, I am going to lose my mind.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was like a 3-month period for me where I was so pissed off because I'm like, did I have to? No, I can't, because we're not officially separated. So that would be shitty of me to do. So it was like a fucking back and forth fight every day.
Oh no. It's
Yeah.
so funny how like lack of libido can be one problem and then life goes, okay, you want the exact opposite?
Right.
You're like, this sucks too.
It does. It was definitely like, I would rather have no libido than have that and not being able to do it, because it was absolutely torturous.
Having no libido, well, okay, so if you have a partner, it can complicate things, but like sometimes it's kind of relieving to just be like, I don't want anyone. Like, I think when I was single and just like not interested in any like sexual intimacy, I remember thinking like, I don't want anyone. This is amazing. Like, I don't know. It was just, I wasn't preoccupied. I wasn't worried. I wasn't, especially because, I think I had just come out of a really like rough breakup too. So I was like, I don't have to feel hurt over anyone in any way. It's awesome. Now I would just be like, oh, I'm sorry. I love you so much, but I can't.
Yeah. And unfortunately, for people who are watching, if your partner is depressed or anxious and they're not physically if they're not aroused or not ready to have sex, it really doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. And I know you can't always believe that when people say, hey, it's not you, it's me. But at times that really is true. And just because you don't want to sleep with someone at that time doesn't mean you don't ever want to, and doesn't mean you're not into them anymore. It just means something in your brain is a little off, and you're just that will or want for sex isn't there.
Humans are just complicated.
We
It's so
are.
funny because we were just talking about, when men aren't able to perform right in that moment. I definitely used to take that so personally because, you go through your teenage years and you have all these hormones, and men kind of, I can't even say men, your teenage years. And this is as someone who lost their virginity way too young,
Okay.
so you are used to like ravenous male attention, and then you get older and you get into serious relationships where things kind of mellow out and become a little more level, and then you deal with the dynamic of men and their moods changing and them not being able to perform 24/7. I'm like, am I not pretty? So
Yeah,
I get that.
I've had that before. There's something wrong with me. I'm like, no, there's not.
You don't love me. I've said that kind of stuff, and I feel so bad. Now I know, like, oh, it happens to everyone. It's no big deal. Like,
right. It's normal. It sucks. It's not intentional, but it happens.
I'll be like, do you need a snack? It's okay.
And for me personally, if my anxiety is up or I'm hyper focused on something, there is nothing that can divert my attention and get me ready to go in that sense. Like, it's just nope.
Bees.
My brain is hyper focused on this right now. There's nothing I can do. I'm sorry. I don't.
Yeah.
We need to not only normalize these conversations, but normalize not every man only wanting sex, because that's unfortunately what seems like the default position for most, is that they just want to believe men always want sex, and that's not true. A lot of men, maybe even most men, always want sex, but as you get older, things change and your interests go in different areas. And as I said earlier, I get more turned on by a great conversation than a hot body. Hot
that's awesome. Yeah, no, I can relate. So that's awesome. No, I am. It's a terrible kind of stereotype to have on men, because it not only harms men, but it can be scary for people like me as well, who happen to be attracted to men sometimes. Well, because I'll be like, you just want me for sex. Some guys do.
Of course.
Some guys do. And people have ulterior motives and they're not honest about them. But it makes it very hard to trust them when you're taught that, like, there's only one thing that men want. And then you find out that, like, as you get older, men just want to, like, be babied and cuddle. Like,
I mean, that's a decent analysis. Like, you want other types of intimacy just as well.
Yeah.
Like, for me, dude, one of my absolute favorite things to do with a partner is smoke weed, watch a movie,
smoke
just
what?
definitely smoke weed. Don't smoke cigarettes. And just friggin' like zone out into a movie and cuddle. Like, that is so like, or laughing together. Like, that's like just smoking and laughing. One of my favorite things to do.
My favorite is falling asleep, like, on or next to my partner while they're playing video games is like the most comforting thing ever. Because I'll just be like, oh, that's nice. It's like watching a Let's Play and I'm like close to them. Like, that's intimacy, peak intimacy for me.
So you enjoy your partner playing video games?
Well, I don't know if it's a video game I like. Okay. And like, so I have to, like, be interested in it. And, if it's like a game I've played before or something, and like just falling asleep next to them, like, or like on their, like, lap while they're doing it is like the best. I don't know if anyone else, like, shares the love for that like I do, but it's totally just something I'm like, that is like peak intimacy for me. It's not, honestly, like, okay, I'm kind of joking, but I love that feeling. I love that feeling. I feel very close to someone when I do that.
Oh.
Yeah. And now I'm thinking about love languages. Do you know what yours is?
I don't think so. Maybe like massages, because I'm a touchy dude.
So, and like physical touch?
Yeah. I am. My friend Holly made a joke on one of our streams where she goes and she blurts things out like I do, unfortunately, and she goes, "You can't go out on a date with Ethan without getting touched." And I was like, "Do you know how bad that sounds?" I'm like, "I think you need to
get touched, like, if you go out with him."
She's like, I mean only if you two are intimate. He's a touchy guy. I was like, okay, thank you, because I don't walk around just touching people.
Hey,
yeah, that would be weird. But if I'm
is important.
Someone, yes, like I'll find myself, like, I'll be massaging and just like caressing and rubbing. I'm just I don't know. My hands just kind of do it, and I enjoy it.
That's good. Hopefully, the other person does too. Yeah.
I got to agree with Eric here. Getting shamed and put down when you can't perform is so painful. I've known guys who just got pushed further into toxicity when they tried to make up for it other ways by being macho. Yeah, I've had that situation before. And the most embarrassing time was the day I lost my virginity. That was like, it was horrible. Horrible.
Oh, no.
Yes. Oh my God. I'll summarize the story.
Okay, I was like on the edge of my seat just now.
So this is just after high school. I meet this older woman and she's at my house, but unfortunately my brothers are home. So we get in the car and we drive to where I work, the back of Whole Foods. And I'm so nervous because there's this gorgeous chick into video games and older. So I'm like,
she's an older gamer girl. Oh my God, let's go to Whole Foods and lose it.
You can imagine like 18-year-old me is like, oh my God, dude, this is so awesome. Like I was so excited. And then it comes time to perform. And she tried assisting and when we go to do it, stops working. So,
oh no.
Yes. So I'm like, I'm sorry. She's like, it's okay. So she tries assisting again. And when we're ready to go,
and then she knows what she's doing. Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, go.
So she finally on the second time, we're ready to go again. And same thing happens. I'm like, come on, what is happening? So I'm thinking 3 times a charm. She tries one more time. And right when we're about to, she goes, oh my God. I'm like, what? She's like, your nose. Blood starts coming out of my nose. Yes. I'm sitting there like this, plugging my nose. And she's like, do you still want to do this? I'm like, yes, I still want to do this. And I can't get my nose to stop.
Just ignore it. Give me a towel.
Right. Oh, no. Okay, this woman is never going to give me another chance if I don't perform right now. But needless to say, on the 4th attempt, lights come flashing in the car. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? So it fortunately was not the cops. It was college kids yelling, like, get it. So I just happened to be in the front seat. I'm like, I'm done. I'm sorry. I can't do this. I quit. And I'm like, this woman is never going to talk to me again. And I'm driving home. I take her back home. And she called me the next day and asked if I wanted to hang out.
Oh, so a happy ending, but not the kind you wanted.
And we ended up dating for like 6 months. So
what?
Yes, I was quite fortunate that I don't know any woman that would give someone another chance after that many occurrences in a single moment. Like, how?
Forgiving.
Yeah, that's true. Women are really forgiving.
We're a nurturing type, some of us. That's so funny. Oh my God. I thought it was going to be the cops. I'm trying to think. Have the cops on me while I was doing the dirty? I don't think so. I've done a lot of dirty. I didn't live in a van behind a sushi, no, in front of a sushi place.
Ooh, I love sushi.
It wasn't. Ooh, it was weird.
Why was it weird?
Because it's in a van in front of a sushi place. Like, go home, get a room. But I mean, when I don't know, hormones, man, they make you do weird stuff.
They do. You're just like, oh, screw it. I don't care if I get caught. I almost got caught several times. Yeah,
Some people are into that. That's okay.
I would.
Sorry.
Yeah, I enjoyed my life. I'll say that.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Yeah. Although now there won't be any more behind the Whole Foods or behind a bar. I won't be doing that anymore. I don't think.
If you go on a date with Ethan, you will get touched behind Whole Foods. Oh man. No, but that's actually like I don't know if I should feel bad for laughing because that's like kind of terrible. Erection is not necessary to have a sexy time. That is true. That is true. Yeah. Ethan Chan, no. You have a new nickname. That's amazing.
Yes, Ethan Chan. I like that. I think we covered. Do we miss anything?
I mean, everything I wanted to talk about, pretty much. There's so many more things we could talk about. That it's intimacy, mental health, two very meaty concepts.
Yes.
Intertwine in so many meaty ways. Emphasis on the meat. I'm sorry. Just edit that out. This is live. Never mind.
Yeah, I can't edit anything out. We're screwed. Whatever we say is on the internet forever.
Yes.
I gotta say, Hanna, we have some really good on-camera chemistry together.
Chemistry.
Hell yeah.
I agree. This went well, I think.
I
Let
think
me know
it
later.
was well, too. The audience seemed engaged the entire time, and I had a really good time, although I probably blabbed a little too much.
I tend to do that a lot, so I'm just glad that it was someone else for once.
Same.
Yeah.
So, all right, where can everyone check you out at?
I don't have a YouTube channel. This is actually, Ethan has popped my cherry in the podcast world, on the like internet world, pretty much. I have a Twitter, and it's just Hanna Vaughn Fancy, and I spell it VON, HANNA, no H on the end, VON FANCY. That's pretty much my social and everything. And I think I have I'm kind of a social media junkie. It's it's kind of embarrassing, but yeah, I mean, some form of Hanna Vaughn Fancy, you'll find me anywhere, but spell Vaughn very simplistically.
Well, thank you for doing this. This was a great time.
I had so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Real quick, I do want to thank my patrons, Cindy PLAZA, Kenneth Leonard, Kathy Letto, Ian Davenport, Bestname Ever, and the Blazing Wizard Pope. You guys are awesome.
Ayo.
And also make sure you like and subscribe. If you're watching this on Facebook, there is a YouTube link in the description. Click that link, bring it over to YouTube, and then you can like and subscribe.
All right.
I think that's it. I hope everyone has a good night and has a safe week. And thanks again, Hanna.
Night. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.